But since this is a 2020 day, they're doing a lot of great work. I was discussing here that we're working with tech companies, media companies, a lot of civic engagement groups to make sure that we're creating some materials and having our partners create materials that really both figuratively and literally speak the language of those we're trying to message to. Because you can imagine a potentially an immigrant community that's slightly fearful of government, or not even slightly. Okay, I'm over here now. I really hate mics. But you can imagine there are those fearful populations that aren't thrilled about the census, aren't sure the safety and the security of the census and how they're responding. So how are we making marketing communications geared towards them to educate that it is safe, it is secure, it cannot be shared with law enforcement, etc. That's a very specific piece of marketing materials versus a millennial or a Gen X or Gen Z that probably will do the census. There's a lot of civic engagement going on nationwide, especially surrounding voting. They just need educated. They need something that's gonna, grasp their attention, something short, quick, to the point. So doing a lot of work along those regards to make sure that we are communicating and messaging very, very effectively and efficiently for the 2020 census. So I'm going to give a very brief Census 101. This isn't meant to be just a full session of me talking. I really want you guys to kind of be working together and discussing things as well. But quick, just like educational, so you know the basics of the 2020 census, which, like I said, is now. So we're the Census Bureau. As data users and data advocates, you all know we are the largest statistical agency. We are the leading source of quality data. We have over 130 census surveys and programs and various data releases that you can all access free of charge, which some people still don't know that a federal program is free of charge for you to access. Demographic programs, economic programs, geographic programs, you name it. We are the providers and collectors of that data. So for the 2020 census, this is one of very few census that we do. There's obviously a difference between a census and a survey. So we have to count everybody in the country. It's in the Constitution. So once every decade, on the year zero, we count every single person in the United States. There's a lot of questions back and forth about the questions we ask on the census and the ones we don't. We now have simplified it more than ever because really the census itself, with all of those other surveys and programs we have, is basically what we need to get how many households there are and how many people are living in the United States. We collect a lot of that other socioeconomic, demographic, geographic information from our other surveys. So really for the census, it is how many places there are for people to live in the country, and then how many people are there in the country so that we can come up with how many seats each state gets and how much money each state gets. It's super easy, it's money and power, and that's what the census comes down to. We collect that and provide that information. We are nonpartisan, we provide the data outwards, and then as we all have different issues with redistricting and things like that, people do what they will with our data. So, really kind of what we're here today, because we're talking about rumors, there's a lot of rumors surrounding the census. And we say rumors as kind of a blanketed term. We all know that there's various disinformation, misinformation. Some people don't know that they're spreading false information about the census. Some people are purposely spreading false information about the census. So we want to make sure to combat that. We want to make sure that we're messaging as much as possible and as efficiently and effectively, like I said, as possible to make sure that people know the truth about census. The one thing to know is that it is safe. We will never ask for a social security number. We never publish any private information, so your address, the name you associate with your form. Really what we want is that form coming back to us. We tally the fact that your household responded. We need to know that you responded, because if you didn't, we come to your door. And then we tabulate that other information separately, so we can just say, okay, this household ties back to this census tract, and now we know that within there we have a population of 100,000, or whatever the case may be. We cannot share our we share the data publicly, obviously, but we cannot share any personal information with other law enforcement agencies, other agencies in general, housing organizations. A lot of people worry if they have someone that's living with them kind of illegally, that we're gonna tell the authorities and they're gonna get kicked out or something. We cannot share with any. We really just want to get that data to know how many people are living where, and that's it. We as Census employees, my colleague Maricela is also here, so wave hi. She's gonna be really instrumental in talking in some of our smaller groups. She works on our innovation team. Why don't you give a quick introduction?
Yeah, so hi, my name's Marcella. I work on the Census Open Innovation Labs team. I am the founding software engineer, so I provide assistance sorry about that. I'll start again. My name is Marcella. I am the founding engineer of the Census Open Innovation Lab team.
Yes.
It's okay. Here, do you want to? Okay. But Marcella works on our open innovation team. She's a software engineer. She's making sure that a lot of the capabilities we have as an innovation team are ripe, ready to go. Is that? We're just getting to know each other too. She only came on about a month ago. But the point I'm here to make is that if she or I take any of the information you give us and release it, we could go to jail or we could get fined a lot of money. So census takers, census workers are not releasing this either, nor are we at the statistical federal agency level. It's easy. This year, everyone will have the ability to do it online, by phone, or a traditional paper mail out. So this is kind of the timeline you need to know. Starting March 12th, so we're just about 5 days away, everyone in the United States, the majority of everyone in the United States, there are different groups that are very, very rural or don't have traditional mailing addresses that are kind of enumerated differently. But for all intents and purposes, you are here in New York City. It will be the standard way. Every household will receive an invitation to respond. It'll be in a letter form, giving you the option to do it online, by phone, or by requesting a paper mail. There will then be a series of reminders. If people still do not self-respond, we will then send a traditional form. If at that point the household still does not respond, we will send our traditional door knockers, what a lot of people think of as traditional census taking. We will send them door to door to get that information. So keep in mind, it's going to be your name, age, date of birth, race and origin. Hispanic origin is a separate question. Relationship to the head of household. The head of household will be the person that responds, and then they will list the people that are within the household and their relationship, how long you've lived there, and then there will be a couple operational questions on some of them to figure out previous populations counts, etc. We're not going to ask for social security number. So unfortunately, we do realize there's bad people out there that may try to get in on this opportunity and get some information. We will not ask your social security number. We will not ask for money or donations. We will not ask for anything on behalf of a political party, and we will never ask for your bank information. So those are some good things to know, because if anyone in a neighborhood or in a community is like, yeah, the census came and they asked some really personal questions, that's bad. That is bad, and that's what we're here to combat. We're trying to combat that as much as possible. So again, this is that timeline that I just talked to you about. So we're starting March 12th. It's crazy. I've been using this figure for over a year now, and now we were in single digits of this actually kicking off. So end of April, if you get all the way to the bottom there, end of April will be that last kind of straw that we're hoping you self-respond before we send door knockers. The self-response portal online and on the phone will remain open through our in-person enumeration, because a lot of people are incentivized to do it when someone comes to their door. They don't want to answer, but they don't want them coming back, so they go online or they call and they do it because they don't want that person coming back. It's important. We already talked about this, So I'm going to go through a couple common rumors, and this is just a very, very surface level, low amount. I'm only going through 3 here, but there are so many different rumors about the census that we're just going to work in kind of like creative conversations today to work to see how we would combat those. So a first common rumor, you can only respond to the census online. There's been a big marketing push because online is great. It's great. There's a lot of people, especially everyone sitting in this room, they'll be like, okay, great, that makes it really easy. I'm gonna go online, I can do it on my phone. It's anywhere you have a web browser. So you can do it on your cell phone or on a tablet or at a traditional desktop. And a lot of people are fearful. They're like, well, what about the older people? What about those in rural? What about broadband disconnectivity? You can respond, like I said, online, by phone, or by mail. When people hit hard with that online opportunity, sometimes they miss the fact that that can be disadvantageous to other populations of people. Rumor number 2, the census is asking about citizenship status. That is untrue. There was a proposed question that asked if you were a citizen or not. It has been decided that that will not be on there. So on the census form, 10 questions, 10 minutes is the really easy kind of like push and incentive to push out to people, but we will not ask about your citizenship status. Sorry, I'm stuttering. So that's another huge rumor to disband because a lot of people, and we very much understand, everyone in here probably is active in the news, you're all data users, you are, very engaged. You're sitting here on a Saturday, so it's very likely that you're engaged and might have already known that we aren't going to do that. But there are those people that saw those headlines top of CNN when it said proposed citizenship question on the census, and that's all that's still burned into their brain. And that's fine. Very much understand we're all busy people. We're not all checking the headlines all the time because it hurts our souls. But it's not on there. So that's another messaging that needs to go out. Rumor number 3, I won't get a form because I'm registered to vote somewhere else. That's a huge one. I was literally at brunch with a friend of mine this morning who I talk to about census all the time. And she's like, well, I think my parents will get my form because I'm still registered in Oregon. I'm like, I haven't done my job as a friend to educate you because that is not how it works. We don't link kind of your form to you as a person. We send a form to an invitation to every household. So we had a very large endeavor before we started census operations back in 2017 called LUCA, Local Update of Census Addresses, where city, county, municipality, state governments participated to look once a decade. It's actually another decennial, once a decade operation. We release our address file to them for them to basically check with their address file to make sure we know all the addresses that they know about and vice versa. We then had a series of address canvassing. We were able to do a lot with geospatial imagery and capabilities, saying, okay, so we see that there's a household there, there, and there, but then there are, especially in a place like New York, there are people back in the summertime and early fall that walk different blocks, and we're like, okay, and then there's a basement there, or there's a garage there that has a separate entrance. So we were worried not about getting to you, of course we are, but to your household. We know where all of the households are, and we associate how many people with the household. So it doesn't matter where you're registered to vote. It doesn't matter where your license says that your address is. If you're in your household, we know about your household, and it's just saying to resident. That's it. So that's another big thing that people just simply, I myself, I'm 27. My parents responded for me the last census. I was in high school. So again, I'm nerdy and I'm really excited. This is my first census too. So different groups of people need various levels of education just based on who they are. We're very diverse, and that's what we're trying to count, but it also proves to be a challenge and an opportunity for different levels of census communications. So I'd like to point everyone, and this slide deck will be sent around because you registered for this workshop today. We have a full Fighting Rumors page on our site. So first off, if you hear something that you're unsure of, and likely any of these rumors that people are trying to spread out there will kind of start ramping up within the next week or so through April. Our big census media push, it's already started, but really this week you're going to start hearing radio ads or ads when you're on Spotify if you don't have premium, or YouTube ads or commercials. All of ours are officially branded. You'll very easily recognize them. But if you're hearing things that seem unsure or seem fishy, we do actually have a rumors email address. It is just rumors@census.gov. That has a very large team that will be safely monitoring it. We've also partnered with big tech companies, Facebook, Google, all the likes, to make sure that if something is being put in a Facebook post or an Instagram post or on a YouTube video, and there's not factual information on it, of course, it has to be flagged. So we're trying to get as many census warriors as we can out there that are like, that seems odd, let's flag it. We, of course, have our own team of the same ones. If it is flagged and then deemed non-factual by any of those, it will be immediately pulled down. So that's a really great partnership that we've made, because that's really important. You can imagine how things on Facebook, especially, I hate to say the word, but especially like fear-mongering things, that if it's saying the census is going to come to your door, ask if you're a citizen, and then ICE is behind you, like that is false. That is so untrue. That is a rumor. Things like that, we need those tech companies to take down immediately so it doesn't spread. And then we need to know about it in platforms like this. We built a whole trust and safety team for the 2020 census. It's something that we've done really kind of, I don't want to say for the first time, we've always been very cognizant and active about our trust and safety, but especially with just the nature of 2020. The fact that we are so technologically advanced, you can communicate via social media in literally the click of a thumb. So we have our trust and safety team. First, it's really important, I've already gone through that we're not going to ask any of these questions, but also there's a lot of information on here about data privacy, looking into different PDFs that show kind of our process that's open to the public about how we're making sure that our online capabilities are secure. Different memos that can be used, because of course when we send people door to door, we want law enforcement to be knowledgeable, etc. So this is all right on here. There's a ton of resources, and this will all be sent to you so that you understand that that data that you're ultimately going to be using as data users is safe. Am I still in presentation mode? I'm not. What did I do? All right, so what I want you to do, I want you to take about 5 to 10 minutes, and I know a lot of you have technology on you, so we're going to be paper-free and good for the environment today. Pull out your phone and pull up notes, or pull out your tablet, pull out pen and paper, pull out whatever you have, and for just 5 to 10 minutes, do some solo ideation. So where are you finding the factual information? The hint is that I told you, so that's kind of an easy one. What channels can you use to help spread factual information about the census? So think about, actually, let's pause for a second. I want to know who's in the room. So can we quickly just go around and introduce ourselves, where you're from, and why you decided of all the great options to come to this workshop at 1:45? Sure. Because it's the best one.
My name is Amalia Chungus, and I work for a multicultural marketing firm in New Jersey. And we do use census demographic information on things like ancestry and spoken language to feed into our multicultural algorithms.
Hi, I'm Taylor Arata. I'm a data consultant, work with a number of different organizations. Haven't really used census data, so more here to understand, all these things, right? I was like, okay, does it ask your citizenship? So this has been very informative, and really just to learn more.
Awesome.
My name is Myra. I work for Con Edison as a project manager. I'm also here just to take in the information and really share it amongst my, family members and their family members and their friends. So,
Thanks. Go ahead, reintroduce yourself.
Yeah, so I'll just quickly reintroduce myself. My name is Marcella. I work at Census with Haley, and I'm a software engineer there. So I can, if you have questions and Haley's not available, just wave me out.
I'm Steve Bauman, retired and just here to enjoy the lecture.
Great.
I'm Natasha Jeremiah. I work at Altice. It's the company that owns Optimum and Southern Link Cable Systems. And I'm just kind of curious to learn more, similar to like kind of spread the word of like what's really going on. And this is actually my first census because I just graduated from college in Los Angeles.
Hi, Corin Fife. I do emerging threats research at a non-profit witness because some of the work that I do, well, actually really a lot of the work that I do concerns digital disinformation and misinformation. I want to come along to this and see how we're thinking about it in the context of the census.
I'm Lou. I am a developer. I work in civic tech at the intersection of city planning and technology. And one thing in civic tech that we are all very aware of is the census is one of the oldest forms of civic technology and data gathering and open data in the history of the country. So it's just a remarkable organization to pay attention to. And also just a couple of my freelancer friends and I recently actually had this conversation about whether or not we want to get a part-time job with the census because it's a short-term thing.
do.
So, yeah, so as freelancers, it's kind of like, oh yeah, we'll do some stuff. Like,
Yeah.
The pay in New York's really high for it too, so.
It's like $23 an hour.
Yep.
I'm Jonna. I'm a grad student at NYU in biology, but I just wanted to learn more about the census because it's really important, and I know the counts are never great, so just wanted to know what's up.
Great. Want to go next?
Hello, I'm Jeff. I work for Queens Public Library. I've been working on census awareness and engagement for just about 2 years now,
Thank you.
like starting conversations about this
Yeah.
in libraries.
Libraries are huge allies, thank you.
We are really concerned about this as trusted messengers in our communities and as sites for digital inclusion and digital literacy. So we're really hopeful that over the next 2 months we can be helping people find the pathway for census completion and self-response that makes the most sense to them. But that misinformation and disinformation piece is also something that staff members are really concerned about.
And then in back.
I'm Olivia. I do data science at Focus Analytics, which is an economic research firm in New York, and we use census data all day, mostly industry and data, but also the and case-based data.
And I'm Emily, and I work with data science.
Okay. Cool. So yeah, thank you all. It's really important to just like know who's in the room. And as you can tell, we all have completely different reasons for being here. We all have different backgrounds. Some of us are here to see how they can work on behalf of their company or their group to, share the legitimacy and the importance of census. Some are here to just personally learn. So there's so many different people nationwide that have all of these different snippets of relationship with the census. So just for about 5 to 10 minutes, like I said, think of where you can find the information, which I already gave to you. What channels can you use to spread factual information about the census? So if you're kind of working on behalf of a group, so I'll look at you with a multicultural advocacy group. Are there other advocacy groups that, might just be one specific culture or ethnicity that you can then partner with and network with to get information that's factual to them? Can you work through personal channels? Can you work through being a data user and explaining the legitimacy of the data you use and why it's important that this is accurate? So think of the different ways you can use to promote the census and spread the factual information. And then think of how you can tailor that message to different audiences that you're working with, kind of on a, varying level. And even if you're here, so for example, you want to talk about your family, how are you tailoring that message to talk to maybe some of your cousins that may be the same age as you versus how you're explaining it to maybe your parents or your grandparents. So just thinking about how complex different messaging is, how you can get different messaging out. So just jot it down, type it up, get it in your brain just for about 5 to 10 minutes. And this is, it's going to be a little stale in here. This is on your own, so it's going to be quiet in here for just a little bit. But it's really important to have people think of ideas on their own because we don't want groupthink to sink in and miss out on some really good ideas. Make it a little less stale and play some. No, that's boring. Wow. Never mind. We're just going to play a little bit of music so it's not so stale in here. Just a hint, there's absolutely no wrong answers to this because that's the thing is you're all here for different personal reasons and professional reasons. So however you think is best to be communicating and tailoring and messaging and learning about the census is right. Unless you're going on Facebook and saying something purposely that's unfactual. But there's no wrong answers here. Just be as creative as possible. About 3 more minutes or so. the song ended, we're gonna use that as a guiding point. So, what we're gonna do next is, I always have a solo ideation first, because what always happens in groups is if you get together first and are like, we could do this, we could do this, you're all smart people, someone will just be like, yeah, that's a great idea, we're not gonna think any further. So now what I want you to do is I'm gonna have you three here, you three, you four, and you two. You'll be groups. So share every idea you came up with. I want everyone to share every different thing that they listed out with each other. And then what I want you to talk about is, how can you actually make this successful? Like, what are some actual things that you can leave here today to make sharing this factual information about census, or combating census rumors, dis and misinformation? How can you be successful as a steward of census data and as a champion of the 2020 census? How can you work to make that successful? So now we're going to chit chat, we're going to talk. It's not going to be still in here for the next 10 minutes or so.
That's a question. It's more time than two.
Yeah.
And if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
I'm not very, imaginative, but obviously use the website.
It's like I can't understand words unless I can spell them.
Second one is really unimaginative.
Spelling
so
and
it's
the word definitely.
The third one, perhaps a little special, both some first generation
Yes, I'll go first.
Americans. I live in a very large foreign languages, both in terms of the forms of this problems of internet translation stuff on the web. And secondly, still a lot of TV stations that you can get. So I've seen videos on.
We can all talk about our answer sheets.
I don't know. I'm not Spanish. I'm not Hispanic, so. At least European, so.
For me, specifically, I got Twitter for,
Okay, question so, right, corresponding use the website so one of the channels is present when I
just so we can kind of like see
English,
this happens.
for family, it would be more so the text. And then for people that are friends of non-families, I would send them either an email or text
There are lots of people.
to see that they can show it basically. So being very concise, just essentially very easy for them to digest. And in terms of how do we tailor the message, so for me, what I think is most useful to people is to get people's attention, is to show the value of what they're investing in. So if I can understand more of how does this help them, how does filling out a census form help you in your household, in your neighborhood, etc. I think showing them that and helping them understand, they'll hopefully fill out more forms, submit the information, and also showing them where taxes are. As it sounds, some people just don't know about the language, right? So hopefully they're understanding the reform applicants
Hopefully you don't put cookies in the ice before you.
That's the rumor, I'm sure that's
Yeah,
out there.
I'm sorry to bring it up.
Yeah, no, that's real. Yeah, that's a real thing. So, exactly.
I love what you said about like what do I get out of this, and just like you're gonna have to talk a little bit about data. Like I wasn't sure exactly what I did or what so knowing that like hey, we're gonna be able to like talk about this too or go see that data. Things get aggregated to certain levels, so that you understand that it's not like individual data.
So I know,
I'm sure there's like other advantages to it, right? So what happens to that data? Like who else looks at that and how does that benefit your community?
Yeah.
Right, so that's just, that's
100%, no, totally agree.
So,
So,
we have lived in this country for 75 years, yeah, show that to people.
oh, true, yeah, right. Start pulling it up, that's a good idea. So how can we share, I think within like my immediate friend group, a big one is social media, so I'm thinking like in Instagram stories and like very shareable content that can just be like, hey, take a screenshot of this, repost it, like easily shareable so that it kind of gets out very quickly. I work in a co-working space, so just understanding like flyers and other things that could be up. That again, seeing those as more like people who can then go take that information out to their communities. So like, how do you, I like using the short text, give people the like 3 to 5 sentences they need to go speak it. Yeah, just like phone calls to family and friends. And I think for the various audiences, something I get concerned about is like, you know, just like checking in with my grandparents and like they get these emails all the time that are like, hey, we need your bank account, right? Like, and the fraud risk is huge, and so like double checking with them just to be like, hey, they're not gonna ask for social security, they're not gonna ask. And even, right, even with my younger brother, like, and it's my first time doing it too, but like even with him, hey, they're not gonna ask for this type of stuff, so make sure that you're only giving the 10 questions in a proper way.
And this is, something took me back 60 years. Children share faster than adults. Schools with kids,
So I'm sure there's business relationships.
so schools are another,
No,
Yeah, that's the like the best case scenario, right? Although,
parents have to.
I was like, Hispanic marketing,
That makes sense, so like, yeah, getting actual information spread through the
You're
schools
really
and at home, you know, that, yeah, that's valuable to say, hey, this is, yeah, this is what's happening, here's what's happening.
It's less so now, but 5, 10 years ago,
They had, because like basically, that's like my husband, is someone who will be a part of our national organization, but his mother is just an exception, his cousins, his aunts, his uncles.
Right, I mean, and especially just like with New York having so many different neighborhoods and languages and populations, like I think that brings up a great point, how do you find those individuals and kids in schools in a great way, even if they're the ones filling out the census, that they can still get that factual information and help spread that. I really think, like, in terms of ideas being successful, like, as someone who does a lot of reporting, we usually work in, like, the fact that the brain can take in 3 things, so that's kind of the framework I'm looking at, is like, okay, there's like, when it's gonna happen, and how you can fill it out, right, just like breaking down these 3 things that, like, you give someone a 5-minute spiel, they're gonna be like, I don't remember.
Yeah.
So it's like, really prioritizing the 3 things you would want to tell about this, and making sure that's like crystal clear and can be then easily shared without this like game of telephone happening.
Well, I think you said about Facebook groups, or like social media, because I'm trying to target people who are, Spanish speaking people, you know, et cetera, and I feel like most, they love being on Facebook for some reason, I feel like. So I think maybe create something like that, so making sure it makes it
Like a good, but I think the success is like really a good mix of media types. It's like, you think about in New York, I'm like, okay, in a building, like hanging up a flyer on the front door, like, there's this many people that live in this building that are gonna see that, and, you know,
Yeah.
just starting to, but like,
Yeah.
then there's digital as well, so yeah.
Right.
Is this new information?
And they're not
Did you know this before?
everything has to
Yeah, did you know?
I didn't know about
well, really,
help
a year.
systems that they have,
That's
there's
a big
some
one.
answers
But,
you
you know,
use
so like,
data.
how does this really the census?
I guess help your
Does-
account.
Yeah, those parents.
I mean, the whole, cause I think coming in or something, and
So,
like, I didn't
I
even
wonder
know,
what
so it was like good to hear it.
Yeah, there's also, that's also what provided New York City's demography a couple months ago. Had in terms of different, they're having different central finding areas. Especially in my area, that's where there are all sorts of illegal subdivisions.
This is one apartment, no, it's four. Yes. No, I get their mail and I pass it on.
For numbers and
Oh,
tailoring the
yeah, I think it's really I actually, I'm, a freelancer, independent consultant, so I also depend on that.
Like, do you need licenses?
Just like, okay, can I grab everyone's attention? So, I hate to like cut the conversation short, but we only have an hour. So, I'm just gonna go ahead group by group and just share, just one person, it's not formatted, just share some of the things you talked about, some of the ideas, some of the methodologies, just go ahead and share what you talked about.
Sure. I mean, so we started off talking about how we're gonna share this information with our contacts and like, yeah, we're all gonna be posting on social media to friends and family and so on. But we kind of moved from there to saying maybe the type of people that we're most closely connected with are more likely to have correct information anyway, or at least know where to get it if you're used to searching online and so on. And that it's probably worth recognizing what kind of communities are most at risk of disinformation around the census. And there have been kind of strategic attempts to prevent different communities where it's heavily people of color, immigrant communities, undocumented communities, and so on. And so it's really important to understand what people's concerns are, like why they would be worried about filling in the census, particularly because there has already been this thing with this citizenship question, as you said, which has kind of put that idea into people's heads. So, so it's important to think about what kind of communities are at risk, and then also what are the trusted channels with those communities. If I go into a kind of majority Latino immigrant community, I don't really have much standing there, but there are a ton of community groups already building those relationships and doing that work. So working with those kind of channels is really useful.
Yeah.
And then also the final thing we were talking about is making it feel a bit more concrete what people stand to lose. So not just saying this is a form that you fill in, but this is something that dictates what kind of resources get allocated to your community. So if you want to see those potholes fixed, and if you want to have enough places in the schools and that kind of thing, that's why it's important to do that.
Yeah. Great, thank you. What about you all?
Sure. So my group here, we've discussed a few things. Social media was a vehicle of sharing factual information and resources. So that was one way. One way that I thought about was going to my local parish and just speaking about this at the end of Mass, English and Spanish. Text through to families and friends, And then also, I think when you mentioned a really great thing is schools. So if schools were to distribute this information to kids, that would be another great way.
Yeah.
Let me preface it just a little bit. I live in downtown Flushing, which has a large Chinese population.
Mhm.
Many of the adults are barely literate in English,
Yeah.
and so forth. You go to the kids, because they speak English, they can learn language real fast. And school stuff in the schools, in terms of the census, will percolate up,
Yeah.
rather than having some of the directing some of the advertising to the parents.
So that's a really great point. And then in terms of how to tailor the information to people, we also discussed, showing them the value of filling out these forms, right? So I would have to understand what the value is, and how long something like that would take as an example, or some few examples of real world examples of, this community, et cetera, they got this out of that because they filled the census. So, so those were some things. We also spoke about like how to help part-time as
Yeah.
well, so we would love to hear some more information
Yeah,
on that.
I have that.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to go?
So one of the things that we were talking about was sort of the role of these trusted messengers within the community. So obviously I work at Census, the library. So how do these groups that are embedded within a community, be a source
Don't mind
of...
me if I switch your mic on.
Doesn't work.
Still doesn't work.
How do they sort of navigate this world of being a messenger and providing information, and when you combat disinformation directly, when does that amplify the disinformation? So those are all the things.
Just for that misinformation piece, the Beak Center in Georgetown put out a good report recently where they talked, it's kind of facing towards city government, and they're talking about when it's good to inoculate against misinformation with trusted and clear messaging, right? Because sometimes by count, like if de Blasio is doing a news conference after there's some viral piece of disinformation, that might reinforce the misinformation. Oh, great, yeah, these weren't working. So filling that data void beforehand or inoculating against misinformation. As far as the school piece, statistics in schools from the Census Bureau, really great K-12 curriculum. And in downtown Flushing, actually, we're using it with our ESOL classes at the Flushing Library. So adult learners are getting some census literacy as well.
Pass the mic over to this group.
I think through talking, we actually got a lot of questions that we have to ask, but I think we kind of came to the agreement that it's probably best to distribute information where in like community centers and places where people like generally know the people that are visiting these sites and like have some sort of sense of community and trust built in there. So like talking about it with members of like the local community center or like a church or schools is another great example. We also were kind of unsure if like census itself, if like this whole brainstorming was supposed to be like ways that census can widely distribute information, or whether it's like on an individual level, how like we go about being stewards.
Yeah, and I can clarify all that. So how I kind of wanted to conclude a bit is to go through just a lot of the resources that we have as the Census Bureau for the 2020 census. So everything is really easy at 2020census.gov. So if you look through, we have every possible bit of information about census that you possibly could need to know. For all of you, it's important to see the get the facts, the how to respond, the why it matters. All of these just came up as you were going around the room, and then the privacy and security. These are our main hubs of getting all of that information. I will say that kind of as an answer to your question, it's kind of a little bit of both. We are looking for stewards and champions at all levels. We as the Census Bureau, of course, like to talk with individuals, community leaders, community organizations to know how we can best do our job. But then, like everybody said, trusted voices are so important because me being a Fed, I am not the most trusted voice if I walk into the neighborhood out here in Queens. Someone that lives here in Queens is. So that is one thing. If you go to the jobs tab on 2020census.gov, that kind of answers how you're interested in getting involved. We are hiring enumerators, and that's the thing is we want people that live in the areas where they're going to be enumerating. So there's a lot of opportunities here in New York, so I do urge you to apply. Again, the pay is really good. It's part-time. It'll be from about, May into June timeframe. A lot of, nights and weekends. Really can work around your schedule, because imagine you're trying to get the people when they're home. For a lot of people, they're at 9 to 5, so you have to go maybe check at 6 or check on a Saturday afternoon or, but yeah, so the jobs are there. I will highlight, and this is really exciting, a lot of you are talking about those trusted messengers. As of right now, we have over 700 national partners and supporters of the 2020 census, which is great. So those are national organizations, national groups that are working on a nationwide basis. We also, if you scroll all the way down, it exists somewhere. There is a list on here. We have over 300,000 local community partners too. There are my colleagues that live, there are 1,400 of them that are around the country that are local partnership specialists that have been doing just what you've been talking about. They are going to community organizations, churches, restaurants, different nonprofit groups that have certain services to the community, partnering with them so that they can be the trusted messengers. Like we said, within any, whether it's an ethnic group or an age group, there are kind of those trusted places that people congregate. So working with them for them to be the ones that are being the messengers. So that's what we're asking you here to do. Whether you're an individual or part of an organization, we're just asking you to be a trusted messenger by coming, by being interested in the census, by using our data, and now knowing where you can get that factual information. We're just hoping that on our behalf, you can continue to spread that for us. To make it easy, we have a ton of different outreach materials that you can filter by language. They're in 12 different languages. By type, brochures, fact sheets, half-pagers, posters, social media templates, videos, web links. They're all there so that you can share that information. And then it is broken down information for AIN, Asian American audiences, Black African American, all the way down. So a ton of different tailored messages that we have come up with, all available on the 2020 census site under the Partners tab. One last thing is we've also had a lot of those partners I've talked to you about create some materials for us. So on creativeforthecount.org, there is a gallery of a ton of different, federal branding is great. We have amazing people that came up with that. But a lot of you as community partners know what's really going to be successful to your communities. So this goes on and on and on. There are hundreds of different pieces of material here, but this is also a place where you can go on and you can get different resources in language, different images, just based on what you are trying to accomplish. So these are all available to you. These will all be sent to you as participants. Some of them are really funny. Some of them are more serious. It really just depends on that audience you're working with, the age, the ethnicity, if they just don't know about the census or if they're scared of the census. This all exists for you. So yeah, I'm just asking, we as the Census Bureau are asking that the great data stewards that you are, the great community members you are here in New York, that you can join us in fun and help us promote the census. And so we only have a couple more minutes, but any questions that showing all of these different resources didn't get a chance to hit? Yeah.
For filling out the census, choosing a head of household, if you live in like an apartment with roommates who are not related to you, do you just choose like a
You just
other
choose.
member?
Yeah, it's really up to you.
And you just submit one form per household,
Mm-hmm.
even for multifamily homes?
Yes. Any other questions?
In
Yeah.
the media that was shown there, so kids count too. What are some of those other
Yeah, and sorry, a lot of these were for kids because that was the most recent one we did where they created these. There are hundreds. You can search by topic. So you can search. Let's just do Hispanic.
But like in the simplest,
Of course, that's not gonna work.
in the simplest level, it's like we want to make sure that we know every single house that exists and how many people are living in that house. So
Yes.
if people say, "Oh, well, I split time between,"
Yeah,
this
and
place
so for that, that's and this is on that 2020 site if you want to refer back to it. It's where you live and sleep most of the time. If there's someone that really is 50-50, sometimes children that split time between parents, it's where you are on April 1st. So some of those common like questions about where you are most of the time, like college students, especially for this group here, college students are at college most of the time. They should be counted there. Because if you imagine 9 months out of the year, they are utilizing the resources of that community. So it is where you are most of the time. Or if you really are 50-50, it's where you are on April 1st is Census Reference Day. And so this, yeah, if you go to filter, you can pick by these different, by content type or by the different population of people that we've created for.
awesome.
Sorry, just a quick
Yeah.
question. Is it, for the one census per household, even if it's a multi-family home?
Yes, because it's really, we just need to know how many people are living. So if it's a home that's divided into 2 apartments, that's different. But if it is just a home and maybe the mom, dad, and children, but then the aunt and her children live there too, it's everyone that lives in the household. It's not per family. If it's a multi-unit residence, then there are multiple units, there are multiple households. Yeah.
Is there any recommended messaging on the citizenship question still being on ACS?
So I don't know that we have any specific talking points now. It is on the ACS because we are looking for socioeconomic data on the ACS. So that is a question that is on there and has been on there. That has been on there in previous years. So more so, the languaging, at least for now, that I would urge would be the safety and security of the data, because that is on there. That's asked to surveys of people, and the important part of that is the safety and security of it, and the fact that that is then used for socioeconomic data so that communities can then apply to various grants, various, federal programs that help those populations. Well, it is 2:45. If there's any questions, I'm here for a bit. If not, why don't you go grab some coffee before your next sessions. But thank you all, and thank you for being passionate about census and learning a bit today and chatting. It was great. Thanks.
you.
Thanks.